Hey Bag Lady, today I'm going to be talking about the new Tula Pink rotary cutter. I'll be showing you some projects that I finished recently since Christmas. My solids that I've added to my stash are the new Tula Pink solids. I'll be showing you the quilter's planner. I have a video on how to make my Sizzix wallet project, and there's a great giveaway at the end, so stay tuned for that at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Sewcial Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Okay, as always, pretty much everything that I talk about during Sewcial Sunday are things that I've purchased myself, so these are not things that I'm paid to talk about. These are just cool notions, fabrics, and other things that I found that I want to share with you. So kicking off the show is my favorite part, the notion of the week, and so I'd like to talk about this new rotary cutter by Tula Pink that I've added to my sewing stash. So the rotary cutter comes in this great box. So if you're like me, I'm not using my rotary cutter every day because I use scissors and a fabric marker to cut out templates for bags, but in between that time I can leave it in this case. But this is what the new rotary cutter looks like. As you can see, it's got Tula Pink's name on it. It's made in this iridescent metal finish. There's a rubber pad on the bottom, and it's great for both right-handed and left-handed users. This button on the top is what releases the blade and then puts it back into place. So it feels really great in my hands. It's sort of a medium weight, and they also sell the replacement blades for the rotary cutter. So this is a pack with 5 replacement blades, and as you can see, it matches the scissors. And I like having matchy-matchy rainbow-colored accessories in my sewing toolkit. So these are just some of the bits of Tula Pink hardware. She's also got snips and other things, a cutting mat as well, which I'll show you in a future Sewcial Sunday. But here's the shears and the rotary cutter. Okay, so while I put these away, I want to call attention to the t-shirt that I'm wearing today. So this shirt is a gift that I got for my birthday. My birthday was after Thanksgiving last year, and my best friend Kim got it for me. If you missed a Sewcial Sunday over the summer, I was lecturing in Ohio, and 10 minutes before I left the hotel to go to the lecture, I was ironing the dress that I was wearing, and I ironed an iron-shaped hole right in the butt. So not kidding me, I had to go to the lecture with, I had some like fashionable ripped jeans and a t-shirt that I wore instead, but definitely not things that I normally wear to a lecture. But she thought it would be funny to send me this t-shirt for my birthday with this iron imprint on it. I think she said she got this from Amazon in case you're interested in your own iron imprint t-shirt, but just the little story behind the shirt that I'm wearing tonight. Let's check in and see everybody that's popping in on the chat. I see a lot of people from both YouTube and Facebook, so let's see. Hi to Pamela. Pamela is joining from YouTube, and I've got a first-time watcher. Thanks so much for joining me, Mar. And Diana said, I love the snips. So yeah, those are the Tula Pink snips over there. Alright, so let me get to show you some projects that I have been working on since Christmas. So here's a brand new pattern that I just got off to my testers last week, and this is the Renegade bag. I made this using this red fabric that I've been hanging on to for over 5 years. This is designed by Ink and Spindle in Australia, and they create hand-printed fabrics. So I checked their website a couple days ago. I didn't see this fabric on there, but they've got a lot of awesome additional fabrics, a lot of neutral colors. So this is a canvas fabric, and I used white cork fabric from my shop as well as gold rivets on the straps. So this will be coming out as a pattern in a video probably sometime in February, but I actually had to make 2 versions of this bag. Normally I just make one before the initial pattern goes off to testers. I make the one to use for step photos for the pattern, but I don't know what I was thinking. I use a white background in my step photos, and these fabrics, not only this red fabric, but the white cork is an awful lot of white in the photos, and so the photos were not clear. So I had to start over and make another bag for the step photos, but I went with this which was much better in the photos. But this is a charcoal cork fabric and another hoarded fabric that I had for a long time. This is by Achino. This one's out of print right now, but The reason I decided to use these two older fabrics in my pattern for this pattern is, I'll talk about the home renovations in a second, but going through my fabrics and having to put them back into place, I had to look through every single fabric, and I was wondering why I was holding on to all these fabrics. I mean, it was turning into more of a collection than a usable fabric stash, and that was really starting to bother me. How long am I going to hold on to these fabrics for? So my plan for this year is to use up as many fabrics as I can. I'm, admittedly still going to be purchasing some things, but I definitely need to use my fabrics instead of just saving them on the shelf, because you can hardly see these fabrics in their full beauty sitting on a shelf. So anyway, this is the Renegade bag coming out in February, but I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments, have you used cork before? So just type yes or no in the comments. I'm really curious to find out. I started selling cork on my website almost 2 years ago, and I admit it's a little bit pricier than the fabrics that I was used to using previously. Normally I use quilting cottons, and at first I was a little bit scared to use the cork, and from seeing people's comments on social media and my Facebook group, I know that's the case for a lot of you as well, but I have a free video on how to sew with cork. You can find that on my website, and you just need a couple basic tools, either a Teflon or a walking foot. You can use the same interfacing as called for in the pattern, or you can use no interfacing at all, because the cork is sort of a stiffer substrate. Not too stiff, it still goes through the sewing machine pretty easily, but anyway, nothing to be afraid of. Start out with a little quick project, and I think you'll be hooked, and I definitely think the cork gives a modern feel to projects. And let me post a couple of comments that I see coming through. Let's see. Carla says, I want to try it. Let's see what else we've got. Michelle says, yes, I've used cork purchased from you. Thanks so much, Michelle. And Liz says, no, but looking forward to trying some. So anyway, keep the comments and questions coming. I'll be posting some of those tonight throughout the chat. So another project that I wanted to show is actually a free video and a pattern that came out right after Christmas. Sort of my belated Christmas gift to you, but this is the Baker Street bag. So I made one in cork fabric. So this is rose gold cork fabric, and I made one in quilting cotton. But let me just show you the recessed zipper closure on the top. So this is what the zipper closure looks like, and this is a great confident beginner bag. And like I said, I made the one version also in the quilting cotton. This one I made for my daughter because she wanted the unicorn on the front of her purse, so she's got all her things loaded up inside. But this is a great bag to get your feet wet. Maybe you've tried my easy leather hobo bag and you want something with a zipper, so this has got you covered. And I've been seeing a lot of these Baker Street bags being posted in my Facebook group. So there's a link in the description with things I've talked about tonight, including the link to the Facebook group. So if you make something from one of my patterns, be sure to post photos of it in the Facebook group. I'd love to see it, and all the other members of the group would like to see it as well. So one more thing that I made over the break that I wanted to show you, and I wanted to call your attention to also, is for the month of January, I'll be hosting the Minikins Challenge for January for the I Spy pouch. So again, link in the description if you're interested in finding out more, but the I Spy pouch is one of the Minikins, which is 12 small accessory patterns, patterns plus videos. But anyway, if you make an I Spy pouch in the month of January, please go to my website, and I have a post where you can post a photo of your finished project. And there's dozens of people that have posted already, but the I Spy pouch comes in the 3 different sizes. It's got the vinyl window in the front, and I think it's a great opportunity to feature not only an exterior fabric but also a lining fabric, because you can see the lining fabric peeking through behind your supplies or notions, whatever you're putting inside. But I have a $100 gift certificate to give away to a randomly drawn winner. So I'll be choosing one person randomly drawn out of everyone who enters a photo, and it's not a prize for the best one or the most unique use of the pattern, but just a randomly drawn winner. So please, if you have the Minikins, or if you'd like to get the Minikins, post a photo of your finished I Spy pouch and check out all of the other projects that have been posted already. There's a lot of really nice pictures in there. So this is something that I started doing late last year, and It's just a call out to all my bag ladies in the group, but a bag lady is comprised of not only bag makers, but if you make accessories or pouches, but I feel like there's a sort of a stigma attached to the term bag lady, but it's something I'm super proud of being. So let me know in the comments if you're a bag lady. Say I'm a bag lady and be really proud about it. So I want to see some of the bag lady comments coming through either on Facebook or if you're joining us on YouTube tonight. So yeah, let me see all my bag ladies out there. All right, my fabric of the week that I've added to my sewing stash, even though I promised myself I would cut back a little bit, are the new Tula Pink solids. So I decided to get 1 yard cuts, so let me pull some of the warm colors out here. But these are solids that Free Spirit has created just according to Tula Pink's specifications, so these are not already existing solids. Tula chose these colors, and this one's actually named Tula appropriately. It goes with her coloring on her logo and all that, but anyway, these are solids that I'm excited about using in a project. My husband's going to post a photo on the screen right now of the quilt pattern that I wanted to use these solids in, but this is a project that I saw the other day on social media. This was a quilt pattern in the magazine Love Patchwork and Quilting in the UK. You can probably find the magazine stateside, but I was really anxious to get it immediately, so I got an e-copy of that issue of the magazine. But this quilt is called Starlight, and I thought it would look really cool in these solids. I think I might use this color or this color as the background in the quilt. I'm not really sure. If you have a preference, let me know, like the light gray or the aqua color for the background. This one's called Diva, which I think is really cool, and here's some of the other cool colors. I think this one's Cricket. This is my favorite green one. And here's some of the other colors. So I have another question for you. Let me know in the comments, but if you're a quilter, if you make quilts, do you use solids in your quilts? So just let me know in the comments, either solids or prints. I'm really curious. I use a lot of solids in my quilts because I think I tend to choose a really loud design, and I feel like I want the solids to sort of take a background to that design. But I've used prints in the past. I feel like I like using a lot of large scale prints, so I'm always on the lookout for a quilt that features the large scale prints as opposed to using the solids. But anyway, let me know in the comments, and let's see some of the other comments that I can send to the screen. Gloria says she's a new bag lady. Let's see. Wow, lots of comments coming through. Let me try to pick a few of them. Janine says, I always use solids in my quilts. Let's see. Anita says, I'm a big, bad bag lady. I like that a lot. And Carla says, oh gosh, these comments are going so quickly. Thanks to everybody for joining me. Carla says, Aqua, yes, I use solids or batiks. All right, so lots of comments coming through tonight. Keep them coming. So I haven't been on Facebook Live for over 2 months, and the reason for that is we had some home renovations done in our house. We have a small house, but basically the whole first floor we had renovated, so we knocked down a couple walls and we plonked down our kitchen right where those 2 walls were taken down. We got the flooring replaced, and my sewing room's on the first floor, and so we had to take everything out and put it either in our bedroom upstairs or in the basement. So it was a lot of work. As you can imagine, all this stuff back here had to come down. It took me about 2 days to pack all the fabric and everything and carry it up to my bedroom. And I thought the work was done then, but I had no idea because I had to put everything back and it had to go back neatly. So let me show you a couple things about what I did with my updated setup in my sewing room. But as I mentioned before, I like using solids and quilts, and so I got these wire baskets from Amazon in order to show the fabrics off in my Roy G. Biv format. But in addition to using solids, I also like using monochromatic prints, which are up here. And so monochromatic, I have a lot of Allison Glass sun prints, but anyway, monochromatic is basically like a main color with like white on it. So this is what this fabric looks like. And I have a lot of these. This is what I had in the baskets up there. Besides that, I wanted to make it look pretty, not just all fabric, so I've got some of the minikins that I've made over here. I've got more minikins down here. This is Tula Pink's upcoming Pom-Poms and Stripes. That's a fat quarter bundle. I've got all my Aurifil threads behind me, and this is a stuffed horse that I had my eye on. This is by an Etsy seller called Stitchified Toys, and so I just wanted it to look nice and pretty instead of just stacks of fabric, which can be overwhelming. So that's what I did with my new setup. I tried to fold everything like the same width and get it on, to get as much fabric on the shelf as I possibly could. So these are all about 7-inch width stacks of fabric, but I've got, you can't see it on camera, but all my Tula Pink is up here and up to the ceiling, and I've got some other yardage for bag making down there. But that's my new setup. I had to make do with a small space, so tried to get as much fabric back there as I could without looking a mess. Let's see, there's some more comments coming through. Allison Glass is a beautiful designer. That was the monochromatic fabric that I showed you over here. Let's see, Terry says, good job on the setup, thank you. I surprised myself that it looked better than I thought it would. But anyway, that's my new studio. I started recently doing book reviews, so I sort of have kind of a book to show you this week. But let me step over here. The book review for this week is for the Quilter's Planner for 2018. So I had the Quilter's Planner last year's version. The 2017 version combined both projects and a planner in the same book. This year they decided to have all of the projects in a companion magazine, which I thought was really cool. So this is a sampler quilt that they're showing on the cover, and the instructions for all these blocks as well as other projects are inside the magazine. So let me flip through really quick and show you some of the projects. Allison Glass designed the look, the designs on the 2018 Quilter's Planner, so there's an interview with her in the magazine. And let me show you some of the other projects. So that's the sampler quilt. These are some of the instructions, so it's laid out really nice. I love sampler quilts. I've made a couple of them myself. But here, let me show you some of the other projects in the magazine. So I feel like a lot of value for, you're not just getting a planner, but you're getting all these projects as well. And templates inside. All right, let me show you one other project, and let's go over to the actual planner itself. So this is a sturdy planner with the wire rim to hold it together, and it's organized by month, so it's got a tab for every month. And the layout is similar to the 2017 planner, and I really loved that the month started out with the full month calendar. So I would keep all of my engagements and different things on the full month, and then my favorite part was the breakdown by week. And as you can see, there's bullet points for every day of the week, and I use this as my creative planner as well as my work week planner. And because I normally had several things to work on in a week, in a day, I liked having all these bullet points over here. So that continues through the month. Every month is here with a picture of one of the projects from the magazine. And another cool part of this planner, obviously it's geared toward the quilter and the creative person, but there's space for sketching out maybe ideas for a quilt or maybe a bag. And the project planner, this is my absolute favorite part of the Quilter's Planner. Last year I had lots of projects that I wanted to make, maybe quilts that I had my eye on, and I always have different things pop into my head, so it's nice to have a spot to keep all of my projects that I plan on making. And there's ideas for planning specific projects further. Important dates and deadlines. If you participate in bees or swaps, there's space for that as well. And if you're a garment sewer, I saw some planning for that as well. Common fabric cuts, yardage, what goes into a yard of fabric, common piecing like half square triangles. And yeah, here's the garment planning for the measurements. So obviously geared toward the quilter. I used mine a lot last year, and I was happy to have the 2018 version. So anyway, that's the Quilter's Planner. If you're interested in finding out more about that, just check in the link in the description. Okay, so I like to show a video, a sewing tutorial video every week on Sewcial Sunday. So this week's video will be for the Sizzix wallet. I went out to Sizzix Studios in California last year to shoot this video for my Sizzix die, and it's how to make the entire wallet project from start to finish. So enjoy this video, and we'll get to some of your questions after the video. Hi, my name is Sarah Lawson, and today I'm going to show you how to make my wallet. So to start off with, I want to point out a few things to you about the die. All three of the pattern pieces that you'll need to cut out with on the die have the blade on just 3 edges, and that means we'll need to place the fold of the fabric on the edge with no blade for all 3 of the pieces. Okay, so let me show you how to cut the fabric out with the die. We'll start with the interfacing first. So the foam interfacing is the thickest piece that we'll need to deal with. And I always like to rough cut the piece vaguely a little bit bigger than the place on the die. And so I'm going to use my scissors and just cut a piece out of interfacing. And since the foam is approximately 1/8 of an inch thick, you'll just want to stick with these 2 layers of the interfacing for cutting out the particular pattern piece. Okay, so I have my foam folded in half, and I'm going to place the folded edge on the edge where there's no blade. And you might find it more helpful if you have washi tape or painter's tape at home to go ahead and put a piece of tape over there just so you can clearly mark where there's no blade. But I'm just going to go ahead and check both of the edges of that particular piece, and the folded edge of the fabric is lined up right there. You'll need a cutting pad on the bottom and also on the top of the die. You want to run them through the machine at a slight angle. Okay, so there's your piece cut out from interfacing, and to cut out with fabric, you'll just use the same process. Again, you'll want to rough cut the fabric slightly larger than the shape of the die. And you can layer up to 8 layers of quilting cotton fabric through the machine. And if you look on your packaging, you'll notice there's a cutting list of all the pieces that you need to cut out from your fabric and interfacing. If you've lost your packaging, you can find the cutting instructions at Sewcial.com. Now that you've cut all your pieces out from fabric and interfacing, you'll need to attach the interfacing to the fabric using manufacturer instructions. So I have this Pellon Shapeflex interfacing attached to my lining pieces, and I've fused those to the wrong side of the fabric. And with the foam interfacing, I've machine basted the foam to the wrong side of the fabric. And if you have a foam interfacing that's fusible, you'll just fuse that instead. After you've prepared all of your pieces with the interfacing, the first step is to sew the 2 medium rectangles right sides together using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. After I've done that, I'm going to turn the fabrics right sides out and press. After you've pressed, you'll top stitch the top edge using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. You'll repeat the same process for all pairs of the medium rectangles. After you finish the top stitching on the medium rectangles, we'll be assembling them for the inside of the wallet. So you'll have 2 rectangles on one half of the wallet and 2 on the other half. To place the rectangles on the lining piece, we'll be measuring down from the top edge 1 inch and 1/8 and drawing a line straight across. Make sure when you're marking your fabric that you use either a water-soluble pen or marker or chalk. Okay, you'll place the first rectangle at that line that you drew, and you'll stitch the rectangle in place on the side and bottom edge using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. After you've sewn that first rectangle in place, you'll measure down from that same top edge 1 7/8 of an inch and draw another line straight across. With that second line that we've drawn, you'll place that second rectangle, and again you'll sew the sides and the bottom using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. When you've got that stitched down, you'll trim any overhang of the rectangles by flipping to the wrong side of the lining curved rectangle, and this is what the finished piece will look like. So you have a decision to make right now. With both of the rectangles, you can leave as is to hold cash or receipts, but if you'd like to create this side for holding credit cards, you'll finger press the fabrics in half to create a crease, and then you'll stitch right down that crease through both of the medium rectangles, and that'll create space for holding your credit cards. Next, I'm going to show you how to create the holder for the pen in the center of the wallet. So right here, this yellow fabric is a nice little slip pocket for holding the pen. So to do this step, you'll need 2 of your small rectangles. For my example right here, I'm going to use the orange fabric for the pen holder, and so I'm going to fold that fabric right sides together so that both of the short ends meet. I'm going to sew across the short end using 1/4 inch seam allowance. After you sew this end using 1/4 inch seam allowance, you'll turn the fabrics so that they're right side facing out. Press the fabrics and then we'll top stitch both of the short ends using 1/8 inch seam allowance. After that first small rectangle is top stitched, we'll be placing that piece on the center of a second small rectangle. After that small rectangle is placed, we'll be stitching both of the raw edges using 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now let me show you how I like to trim down zippers. I normally like to use longer zippers than are necessary because I like to trim down and eliminate 2 areas. So on the area where the zipper head is, I like to eliminate that front end because it kind of creates a gap. And on the other end of the zipper, there's a metal zipper stop, and I always like to make sure I cut that area off because that metal zipper stop will break a needle. So to trim down the zipper, first you'll want to back stitch a few times back and forth. That's called bar tacking, and that creates a new zipper stop. So I've gone ahead and done that already. I've sewn back and forth a few times, as you can see with the blue stitching. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim that metal zipper stop off. For this project, we'll need a zipper that measures 16 inches long, and I'm going to take my ruler, and from the end that I cut off, I'm going to mark 16 inches. After marking, I'm going to take this back over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to create the second bar tack just to the inside of the markings that I made, and I'll just be sewing back and forth a few times, but of course you want to make sure your zipper head is within that area that you'll be sewing and cutting off. After you create that new bar tack, you can go ahead and cut at that line that you drew. And now your zipper is exactly 16 inches long and ready to sew into the project. For the next step, we'll be sewing one of the exterior fabric small rectangles to the right side of the zipper. So I've gone ahead and done that already. As you can see, this is the right side of the zipper, and the fabric is right sides together with that zipper, and I've sewn that short end using 1/4 inch seam allowance. After that step, we'll follow up with the lining small rectangle. We'll place it right sides together with the exterior fabric, and so that zipper will be sandwiched in the middle. After aligning the short ends, we'll flip to the wrong side of that first fabric and we'll stitch right on top of the previous stitching. After sewing those 2 fabrics, you'll press the fabrics so that they're wrong sides together, and we'll top stitch 1/4 inch away from the finished edge. Now we're going to attach the remaining short end of the small rectangles to the opposite end of the zipper. So here's my exterior fabric, and I'm going to place that right sides together with the right side of the zipper. Again, I'm going to sew that short end using 1/4 inch seam allowance. The final step for preparing the zipper is to attach the lining fabric to the wrong side of the zipper. And this step might seem a bit counterintuitive because things might seem a little bit twisted, but just trust that if your fabrics are right sides together that you'll be fine. So I'm bringing up my lining fabric to the wrong side of the zipper. And again, we're going to sew on top of the previous stitching that we can see from the wrong side of the exterior fabric. After sewing, you'll just flip the fabrics so that they're wrong sides together. So it'll look like this. And then we'll complete the final top stitching. So we'll sew this end using 1/4 inch seam allowance. After that top stitching is completed, we'll be creating sort of a little envelope for that little piece of foam that I had you cut out. And so to do that, we'll just be sewing one of the raw edges of the small rectangles wrong sides together using 1/8 inch seam allowance. Grab that piece of foam interfacing and slide it in between both of the layers. Okay, now we'll seal that foam interfacing in place by stitching that remaining raw edge wrong sides together using 1/8 inch seam allowance. Different handbag zippers might be slightly different widths, and so if that's the case with yours, as you can see over here, I have a little bit of overhang of the fabric past the width of the zipper tape, and I'm going to take my scissors and just trim it so that the fabric is even with that zipper. So now we need to create some quarter markings on both the zipper and all of the curved rectangles, and that will help us install the zipper evenly on both the front and the back of the wallet. So to do that, first I'm going to take my completed zipper and I'm going to fold that small rectangle so that both of the short ends meet. I'm going to take a fabric pen and mark on the end of the fabric over here, right across the middle of the small rectangles. And then I'll keep that zipper folded flat and mark the opposing end. Next, with those two markings that you just made, you'll bring them so that they're right on top of each other. So I'm aligning the markings that I have on the actual zipper tape with the markings that I have on the middle of the small rectangles. Keep the zipper folded flat and mark both ends. Okay, after marking that zipper, you should have 4 quarter markings. We'll also need to create those quarter markings on all 4 of the curved rectangles. So here's my exterior curved rectangle, and I'm just going to fold it in half so that the raw edges meet and mark both ends. And I'll do the same thing by folding it in the opposite direction and marking both ends. So as you can see from the wrong side of the fabric, I have those 4 quarter markings. You repeat those quarter markings on the remainder of your curved rectangles. Now that the zipper and all 4 of the curved rectangles are marked, we're going to attach the zipper to one of the exterior curved rectangles. So if you have directional fabric, you'll want to make sure that you're pinning that small rectangle to the bottom edge of that curved rectangle. I'm having the exterior fabric right sides together with that exterior fabric on the curved rectangle. And we need to align the quarter markings. So I have a quarter marking right here on that small rectangle, and I'm going to make sure that it's aligned with the quarter marking on that curved rectangle and pin it in place. And I like to use wonder clips just because when things get thick with the fabric layers, the wonder clips hold lots of layers of fabric and pins tend to bend. So wonder clips are always a good option for bag making. I also find it helpful to unzip the zipper while pinning and sewing that first edge of the zipper in place. And if you feel more comfortable, just leave that zipper zipped before you pin just to make sure you don't have things twisted. Okay, and then go ahead and pin the remainder of that curved rectangle all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and sew the pinned edge using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so here's the little 1/8 inch high clips that I made through both the zipper tape and the fabric. And as you can see, it was a little bit easier to sew just because those clips were there. Okay, after you've sewn the zipper to the exterior fabric, we'll be attaching one of the lining pieces. I find it helpful to go ahead and pin that loose zipper tape in the middle of the fabric and keep it out of your way. Okay, we're going to attach one of the lining pieces, and we want the bottom edge of those credit card slots to be on the same end as the edge with the small rectangles. We're going to flip the fabric so that they're right sides together. And again, we need to use those quarter markings to line everything up. So use the quarter markings on the wrong side of the lining to match up the quarter markings on the wrong side of the exterior. Just go ahead and pin all the way around. Now when we take this over to the sewing machine, we're actually going to flip to the wrong side of the exterior because you can see the stitches from when you first attached the zipper, and we're going to sew directly on top of the previous stitching. The only thing when sewing the lining in place is we need to leave an opening approximately 4 inches large just so we can turn everything right sides out. So I'm going to leave my opening right over here on the side at the bottom of the credit card slots. Okay, after sewing that lining fabric in place, we'll just want to make little clips again about 1/8 inch high through any of the curved edges. Now it's time to turn the fabrics right side out through that opening that you left in the lining. Okay, I'm going to remove the pin that I have in that zipper tape. And this is what it should look like so far. Now you'll be repeating the same process to attach the exterior fabric to the other long edge of the zipper. So I've gotten that sewn in place already. And after that's done, you have one final lining piece, and I'll show you how to pin that in place right now. So sometimes it's helpful to sort of fold that first half of the zipper out of the way. And remember, we're going to attach the bottom side of those credit card slots to the edge where that small rectangle is. So I'm going to place the fabric so that the right side's together. And as always, we need to line up those quarter markings. So I'll pin those in place first. Okay, as we did before, we're going to flip to the wrong side of the exterior and we're going to sew directly on top of the previous stitches, except remember, we need to leave that opening in the lining, so leave a 4-inch opening on one of the long edges of the lining. As before, we'll be leaving little 1/8 of an inch high clips through all of the curved edges. Okay, now it's time to turn everything right side out through that hole in the lining. Okay, you might want to use a turning tool to poke out the corners. And then the last step is to grab the 2 pieces of Peltex that you cut slightly smaller than the pattern template. And so we'll be inserting 1 piece of Peltex in each half of the wallet, and I find it helpful to fold that Peltex in half and slide it in, and then you can go ahead and spread that Peltex flat. Okay, give everything a good press with your iron, and you'll also want to press those 2 openings in toward the wrong side by 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to finger press those for now, and it's helpful to put some wonder clips on those openings. Okay, we're going to take this back over to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew around the outer edge of each half of the wallet using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So we'll sew this half, and then we'll go ahead and sew the second half, and when we sew those, the openings will be sealed closed and the wallet will be finished. Now that the top stitching is complete, the wallet is finished and ready to fill with your credit cards, cash, and the wallet will fit most cell phones, which is really nice. A couple other tips for making this project: you can make it to hold makeup brushes, pens or pencils, other art supplies, so it really can fill multiple purposes, and it's a great gift, teacher's gift, a quick project to put together, and has so many uses. I hope you enjoy making it. Okay, so that was a video on how to make the Sewcial wallet project. If you want to watch that video anytime, it's always available on YouTube, but here's what the Sewcial wallet die looks like. And here's my Sewcial machine. So I have 2 different machines. This is the smaller one, but this is the Big Shot Plus, and this will fit a range of different sizes of dies. This is the smallest die that any of my projects will come in. I do have the train case on a bigger die, but this is not computerized at all. It just has cutting pads that you place on top and bottom of the die, fabric on the die, and here's the wheel that you turn to get everything to go through. So I've seen these machines with the pads for less than $2, and this is great in particular for people that are making things for craft fairs, because you can make assembly line style dozens and dozens of projects in a short amount of time. My box pouch is definitely my most popular out of all of the dies that I've come out with so far. But I wanted to pop over and answer some questions that came in during that video was playing. So Laura Ann wanted to know, do the dies in Sewcial work in Go Baby cutters? So by Go Baby, she means the AccuQuilt cutters, and unfortunately the Sewcial dies don't work in AccuQuilt cutters, but it works the other way around. If you have a Sewcial machine, you can use the AccuQuilt dies, because Sewcial made adapter pads so that the AccuQuilt dies fit in the Sewcial machine. So Alejandra says there's a Sewcial in my future. Thanks, Alejandra. Let me scan through some of the other comments that are coming through. Mary says, have never seen anything like this. Zoe Ann says, thank you, what a great project. Let me flip through. I saw some questions about interfacing to come through. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, Gwenna wanted to know, is Peltex and Shapeflex the same product? I used both Shapeflex and Peltex in that wallet project. The Peltex is the ultra stiff interfacing that went in to make the front and back of the wallet stiff, and Shapeflex is an interfacing that I use in every single one of my bags. It's a thinner interfacing that's fusible, and I use it for fusing to lining fabrics to give the lining a bit more body. Mary says, where can we find a replay of the wallet video? You can either go to the So Sweetness YouTube channel or the Sizzix YouTube channel and find that there. Let's see what other questions. Carolyn says, I may have missed something. Do you have to buy the wallet pattern instructions as well as the dies for the big shot? So the instructions for the wallet come printed on the die packaging, the text-only instructions, and then there's always the companion video. So with any of the Sizzix dies, same case, the instructions are printed text-only, and then you can go and see videos for any of the Sizzix projects on how to make the entire project. All right, let's see if there's any more questions. I think somebody said, I couldn't find the question again, but somebody wanted to know if you can make the projects to sell, and same thing with the Sizzix dies and any of my sewing patterns. The home sewist can make and sell the items made for the patterns or from the die projects at craft fairs or online. So yes, I please do want you to make lots and lots of projects and sell them online or at craft fairs. Let's see, Emily says, where did you get the white cabinets in your sewing room? I'm not sure if you meant the shelves back here, but these white shelves behind me are the Billy bookcases from IKEA, and I bought, I know you can't see because it's near the ceiling, but I bought the extensions for the Billy bookcase, so it basically adds one other segment. So my bookcases are floor to ceiling, and they're really nice. They're sturdy. I've had them for, I think, between 2 and 3 years, and they hold a lot of weight in fabric. So Billy bookcases from IKEA, they're really nice. They come in different finishes too, but I like the white because the white shows like my Roy GB rainbow fabrics put out. All right, let's see what other questions. Let's see. Are the dies only sold online? A lot of quilt shops also sell Sizzix products. I don't have a list of which exact ones, but you could certainly call your quilt shop and ask, or maybe Sizzix has a listing on their website or can provide you information with retailers that carry the Sizzix dies. So, all right, that's enough questions for now. I wish I could answer every question every week, but I want to get to the good stuff, so I have a giveaway to offer you. So the giveaway for Sewcial Sunday is for an $80 gift certificate to my website. That's sewsweetness.com. So you can use, if you're the lucky winner, you can use the gift certificate on anything you choose. So cork fabric, glitter vinyl, faux leather. I just got this new faux leather in this past week that I wanted to show you. It's sort of an iridescent pink. I also have this in turquoise, so that might be an option. If you don't have the minikins already, you might want to spend your gift certificate on the minikins. Here's a few that I made recently. This is the Bellevue pouch, so this comes together really quickly because it's just front and back fabric, but gussets make it a three-dimensional project. This is the medium, by the way. It comes in 3 different sizes. Another one that comes in 3 different sizes is the cotton candy pouch. This is quilting cotton in the middle, and I use jeans blue cork fabric on the sides. Again, this one's 3 different sizes. This is the binary pouch. It's got one segment in the middle but opens with the dual zippers, and it's got a magnet on the flap. I saw this made in masculine fabrics or leathers, and it looked really nice. I used an old Amy Butler duck egg French wallpaper fabric for this because I'm keeping with the theme of using up old fabrics in my stash. And this one was my favorite. This one was made in Tula Pink Slow and Steady, and this is the Zeppelin pouch. This one's really quick to cut out because it's only the front and the back and the handle. So it comes together 3-dimensionally due to the magic of sewing. So this is another of my favorites, and again would be great for a masculine or a DOP bag or shaving kit. So anyway, To be eligible to win that $80 gift certificate, which you can spend at sewsweetness.com on anything you like, all you have to do is let me know in the comments what your favorite sewing notion is. So maybe it's a particular marker, tool, ruler. What's your favorite sewing notion? Let me know in the comments. I'll draw a random winner this upcoming Saturday at the end of the day at 11 p.m. Central Time. I'll announce the winner on my next show. And you want to make sure you stay tuned for this Tuesday for my show. It's called Ask Sarah. It's also at 7 p.m. Central Time, but I get a lot of emails and questions on what kind of sewing machine that I use, so I wanted to talk about that on Ask Sarah this Tuesday. So I'll be talking about my automatic thread cutter, my threader. I have an all-metal sewing machine, so I'm really excited to show you a few things, special details about why I love my machine so much. I've had it for about 5 years now, so that's this Tuesday on Ask Sarah. So this has been an episode of Sewcial Sunday. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you again next Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Happy sewing.